Have you ever felt lost amidst the chaos, as if the pressures of life were sinking you? Now imagine that, even in the midst of all this agitation, you can find peace. That's what we'll explore today, how the calmness of Jesus can transform your life, even in the most turbulent times. We live in a world where everything seems fast-paced. Anxiety, stress, pressure. They seem to always be knocking at our door, don't they? But what if I told you that over 2,000 years ago a man taught us the key to true peace? That man is Jesus. He showed us that true calm doesn't come from circumstances, but from a deep trust in something greater. Did you know that Jesus, even in extreme situations, never lost his calm? In moments of storms, both physical and emotional, he showed us how we can act with serenity. But how did he do that? Is it possible to apply these same teachings in our hectic daily lives? One of the greatest lessons Jesus taught us was about anxiety. He said, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." Imagine what that means in our world today, where worry about the future dominates our minds. But when we focus on the present, on what we can control right now, anxiety diminishes. Jesus taught us that peace doesn't come from the absence of problems, but from the trust that God cares for every detail of our lives. At work, do you feel that constant pressure? 1,000 tasks, tight deadlines, and that feeling that it's never enough? I've been there too. But remember Jesus' teaching. He invited us to rest in Him. When we're overloaded, we can lay our burdens down and trust that with Him, we find rest. This doesn't mean the work disappears, but the inner peace helps us face challenges with more clarity and balance. There are moments in our lives that resemble this storm. The chaos around us seems out of control, but Jesus, in such a situation, showed us that even in the middle of the storm, we can find peace. He didn't just calm the winds of the sea, but also calm the hearts of His disciples, and He wants to do the same for you, if you allow Him. Another powerful teaching of Jesus. He said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Jesus doesn't promise us a life without difficulties, but He offers us something far more precious: rest for our souls. Oh, in today's world, with so many demands, this promise is even more relevant. True peace comes from the understanding that we don't have to carry the weight alone. In our relationships, we often find turbulence, impulsive words, misunderstandings. This can cause a lot of pain and frustration. But in the midst of these moments, Jesus teaches us about forgiveness and patience. He not only asked us to forgive, but also showed us the power of calm in the face of anger. Forgiveness and peace start within us, and it is these attitudes that transform our relationships and our lives. Jesus, even though He was the Son of God, also withdrew to pray, seek silence, and renew His inner peace. He knew that to maintain calm in the midst of chaos, it was necessary to connect with the Father in moments of quietude. And you? How have you taken care of your inner peace? Jesus promised us something that the world cannot offer: His peace. A peace that does not depend on external circumstances but comes from within. He left this peace as a legacy for us, something to be lived and shared. In today's world, this peace is even more essential. The chaos of the world does not need to affect the peace we have within us. When we have the calm of Jesus, we can face any storm. In a world where worries never stop and pressures seem to increase every day, the unwavering peace of Jesus stands out as something almost incomprehensible. How could someone remain so calm and serene, regardless of circumstances? Jesus wasn't immune to life's difficulties. In fact, He faced some of the greatest challenges anyone could imagine. But what made Him unique was His ability to remain calm, no matter what happened around Him. Remember the story where Jesus was in the boat with His disciples when a sudden storm surprised them. The waves crashed against the boat, and the disciples, terrified, thought they would die. But Jesus was sleeping, calm in the same boat. When he awoke, he calmed the storm with a simple word: silence, be still. Mark 4:39. This unwavering calmness was not just about the physical control of the storm, it was about the deep trust that nothing, not even the greatest challenges, could disturb him. He knew that as the Son of God, nothing was out of the Father's control. What does this mean for us today? And we live in a time when stress and life storms, whether external or internal, can quickly consume us. But Jesus' lesson is clear. Inner peace comes from trusting that, just as he was in tune with the Father's will, we too can rest in his control. At another moment, Jesus faced an equally challenging situation. He was about to be arrested and condemned to death, but his response was of absolute serenity. He didn't react with fear or anger, but with a peace that defied all human logic. When Peter tried to defend him with a sword, Jesus said, "Put your sword back in its place. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels?" John 18:11. This attitude of Jesus teaches us something powerful. He knew he was fulfilling God's purpose, and no circumstance could divert that course. The peace he conveyed was not a peace that ignored suffering, but a peace that had full confidence in God, even in the most difficult moments. So when we face our daily storms, whether at work, in our relationships, or in our internal struggles, we can find strength and peace in the example of Jesus. He showed us that true peace is not the absence of problems, but the trust in God, in his sovereignty and love for us. In our moments of chaos, we can stop and remind ourselves that just as Jesus did, we too can face challenges with a calmness that comes from a deep trust in divine providence. He never promised that life would be without difficulties, but he offered us his peace. A peace that goes beyond human understanding, a peace that guards our hearts and minds, even in the most turbulent circumstances. So how can we apply the calmness of Jesus in our lives today? First, by trusting in God and his control over all things. Second, by practicing quietude and prayer to renew our peace. And finally, by remembering that true peace comes from an intimate relationship with Jesus, who offers us rest for our souls. In moments of chaos, don't forget, Jesus' peace is within your reach, and with it, you can face any storm with serenity and confidence.